I set off for China a decade ago. Last month, February 2016. And about the middle of the month, flew into Beijing from my hometown in Australia. And my intention was pretty straightforward. It was to do my final semester of my undergraduate degree at a university in Beijing. Now, I had visited Beijing for 4 days the year prior, 2015. And I checked out Beijing, I checked out Shanghai, and I really enjoyed my time in both cities. I was studying in Hong Kong at the time, and I was in Hong Kong for 6 weeks. So I really did a really great induction across multiple cities, and I spent time on the mainland, spent time in Hong Kong, did a little bit of travel in China during that first 6 months there. But it was really, I think, probably within the first month that I realised that I wanted to stay in China longer than my initial exchange program at the university. So the exchange program was supposed to be 6 months, and it was 6 months, and I did that in its entirety. And then before, I toured a couple of universities in Beijing, so I was trying to find somewhere to study Mandarin, and I kept encountering the same problem, which was there were too many English speakers at Beijing's best universities. Now, I had toured a couple of other universities in Shanghai, and I was in Hong Kong, so I knew of Hong Kong. So I figured, basically, that if I'm to stay in China, I have to leave the big cities, leave the majors, the Beijing, Guangshan, the Beijing, Shanghai, Guangzhou, Shenzhen cities, and head out into a different part of the country. And so that's how I ended up in Dongbei. Was it worth it? Well, I'm still here a decade later. I've spent the majority of the past decade since first moving to Beijing in 2016. I've lived in China. Where I am at the moment is now my third city that I've lived in China. And it's been very much worth it from the perspective of I found my wife here. I have made a lot of friends here. I've had a lot of fun. The Mandarin piece for me is really enjoyable, engaging with locals here on the ground, right? Not hanging around in an expat community or an expat bubble that you might find in either an embassy or a foreign diplomatic community, or hanging around a lot of foreign English teachers and things. That's not really what the experience that I was going for. And I've been able to avoid that for the most part, which has been great. Just filming this outside here. I'll show you around. It's not too late in the evening. Let's see what time it is. 6:20. So not too bad. So yes, it has definitely been worth it. I haven't calculated or counted it, but I've spent the majority of my work life also in China. It's been enjoyable. Chinese organisations, foreign organisations here in the country, and now setting up my own company, an organisation here in the country, is probably just the natural next step of things. So that's been really fun and enjoyable to dive into over the past couple of weeks. So I think if you're considering moving abroad, or even doing an exchange or a short-term or secondment or some other type of short-term program, I think heading in with perhaps a longer-term mindset than the time frame that's been given to you. So if you're doing just a semester abroad, maybe think of it, rather than doing 4 or 5 months, maybe think of it a little bit longer than that. Maybe even a year or two. If you're just doing a semester abroad, or so if you're working, then maybe your organisation has seconded you out to a separate city, separate country. Maybe they speak English there, maybe they don't. Either way, I think heading in with a mindset of, I might do 2 or 3 years, but if the opportunity comes up and if there's a great opportunity with career opportunity, then there is obviously always chance that you might end up staying longer, or perhaps go to a neighbouring city within the same region. Totally depends what you're into. In each of the times that I have moved cities, so I lived in 3 cities before I moved to this particular city, I didn't visit it beforehand. And similar with the move up in the northeast, I didn't visit that city before moving there and ended up really enjoying my time there. So it's not a prerequisite that you have to visit a place before you decide to move there. So for me it was worth it. I hope it's worth it for you. That's today's video.